Hello, this is Sim Racing Corner. RaceRoom dropped a big update today, which I installed and I've been playing for about 3 hours now. The big selling point of the patch for the update was an update to the force feedback, which I have to say doesn't feel any different from before. Marginally better with one aspect, or a couple of aspects, which I'll talk about, is it's a little bit less rubbery than before. I remember it feeling kind of strangely rubbery on the old force feedback. I got used to it. I just lived with it. And the other thing is, what I'll show you in a moment, is the actual menus for the force feedback, which they've really slimmed down. They've made it a lot less complicated, much better for people who are new to the game. Bumps and curbs and everything else come through nicely. However, there is the feeling of weight transfer through the force feedback is fairly bland. There is a feeling of weight resistance, but it doesn't. As I snake around, I would expect to feel some extra sensation through the wheel as it's moving around, but there is absolutely nothing there. And when I go around corners, the feeling of loading up the tyres is fairly basic. There is some sensation, but it's not like a curve. It's fairly linear, which may be realistic in a way to driving a real car on a track, but the reason for force feedback is there to give you those sensations which are not there when you're in a seat in your in your room driving these games. It's there to give you extra effects, to give you an understanding of what the car's doing through the feeling of the force feedback. And yeah, just not doing it here. You just can't. I'm just feeling kind of weights of the wheel, but you can just see that, but it's not moving around. I'm not feeling that weight transfer very well. To get that sensation, you really have to actually try to turn the car around, and then you can kind of feel it moving around there. But in normal conditions, it's actually pretty basic. Which is a bit of a shame, really, because that kind of sensation, that curve of it building up and then hitting a peak when you're going around a corner, gives you an understanding of where your tyre grip is, and that helps you drive with a bit more consistency because you can feel it through the force feedback, where all I'm feeling is just basically counter force resistance, which is okay, but it just seems basic to me. So yeah, a bit of a shame actually. I was hoping that they would have elevated the sensations of the force feedback to something closer to, say, R Factor 2 or Automobilista 2, and they certainly haven't. Really, it's just kind of feels like it was before, but just less complicated menu system, and I'll show you that now. The UI has been revised, and I do like what they've done there at least. So if we go into here, and I'll show you this actually first. They've got a field of view calculator now, so that helps you set your field of view nice and easy without having to reverting to using a third-party website to try and calculate it. It's all in game, so that's kind of nice. Go to the controls and the force feedback, and this menu is a lot simpler. They've taken out all the faff. There used to be a huge amount of force feedback settings which looked like they kind of overlapped, and you could easily make the force feedback feel really janky by using the wrong settings. And the problem with those settings were they were quite unique to this game, and difficult to really decipher what they're doing, if it made a difference. And because the force feedback was never amazing before, you were never sure if you got the force feedback settings right. That's how at least how I felt in the previous, the older force feedback. And now they've reduced it to, they've taken out all the kind of faff, and the force feedback feels kind of similar to what I had it. So I guess I had the force feedback as well tuned as I could have done previously, and now it just sort of feels about the same. I wish it was a little bit more dynamic. It's a bit of a shame it isn't. You have a graph here which is kind of nice. It gives you an indication of when you're a visualization of the changes you're making, so you may find that useful in how that's represented there. I think, yeah, why not? That's quite good. The immersion is canned effects. You need to have actually bump amplification on. Engine vibrations, gear shift, doesn't really matter, but you need to add some of that, because if you don't, the texture of the road actually feels, there's actually no texture to the road. It's kind of really weird. Now I can feel like a little vibration through the steering wheel, and it's pretty subtle. You can see a little bit of movement there, but it's enough to kind of give me a feeling that the road is, there's, I'm on a surface and it's a bit more live. Without it, you're just going around. You're just going along a. Let me just show you. In fact, because it's better just to demonstrate it. Right, is just turn it off. Come on, trackpad, you can do it. There you go. Turn that off, and there's absolutely there's nothing. You don't even feel any indication of motion if you don't have any of that. Go around the corner and there's just weight to the wheel, but there's absolutely no road texture. So you do need to have some of that road surface effect on, otherwise it just feels kind of strangely dead. But yeah, there you go, guys. That's kind of my assessment of the new update. It's sort of disappointing in one way. The fact I hope it to be, the force feedback to be up to a higher level, closer to some of the other good games out there, like Automobilista 2 and R Factor 2. Yeah, all they've done is really, it just feels the same. It just feels the same as it did before. So, with a little bit of vagueness, not a really exceptional feeling of tire grip through the force feedback. But I'm sort of used to it because I was used to the old force feedback and, was just basically lived with those limitations. So, and I do like the game. I have most of the content. I have virtually all the cars. I have all the tracks. Maybe I don't own 2 or 3 of the cars. That's about it. And I like the AI in the game. The adaptive AI is really good, nice and challenging. I love the different variety of tracks it has in this game. Not in love with the graphics, but I can look past that. But I would have hoped that they nailed the force feedback in the updates, and they really haven't. That's it. It's a bit disappointing, but there you go, guys. If you play RaceRoom, drop your comments below the video. If you're new to RaceRoom, at least what you're going to get is you don't have to faff around with those force feedback settings anymore. It's going to be as good as it's going to be without having to kind of tweak it endlessly and then not knowing if you got it right, because now you don't have to worry too much about it. But yeah, the best force feedback games out there: R Factor 2, Automobilista 2, Assetto Corsa Competizione, iRacing probably, but I don't have it, so I can't give that. I can't tell you, but I'm sure it's very good in that game. And then right far off, miles in the background, is RaceRoom. That's why I rate the force feedback. Unfortunately, as much as I enjoy this game and I do like it, force feedback still pretty sucky, unfortunately. But there you go. Anyway, guys, yep, drop comments below the video. What do you think? Do you like the force feedback in this game, or am I talking nonsense? Anyway, I'll leave it with you. Anyway, guys, I'll be back in a couple of days with another video, so I'll see you then. Take care, and bye-bye.